Mon Dieu, au revoir français, c'est la vie. This episode, we're going from Abarak through to Roscoff, big tides, wow, up to 11 metres, and then Roscoff, we leave France, here we come the United Kingdom, off to Guernsey. Good morning, Wednesday the 19th of March, here in Abarak, and what could be our penultimate day in France and Europe. So yeah, bit of an exciting time. We're going to head out of here, very sheltered anchorage, absolutely beautiful anchorage, and Abarak down here and Roscoff up the top here. Just 34 miles to run, so not too far today. And as I've previously said, Roscoff up here is the launch point for Guernsey, and here is Guernsey out here off the English coast and French coast. So yeah, it's a pivotal point really. Out of here I'll pop in and show you the tides. Abarak here. So it's 8:30 in the morning, we're just coming off high tide, so we'll have an outgoing tide, which is really nice. We've checked the currents yesterday. There's no issues with the currents between here and Roscoff, and in Roscoff we're expecting about an 8 or 9 metre tide there. So yeah, it's all looking good. The weather today, 10 to 15 knots of breeze off the mainland, and swells all less than 2 metres, and it's looking like Friday is going to be like a mill pond going across to Guernsey. So yeah, beautiful anchorage, absolutely smooth all through the night. It was really magic. Got some good drone footage, which obviously we'll share, and we'll head off on our way. So this is a pretty interesting area, because if you look up to the port of the boat, you can just see the breaking water over rocks there, and obviously plenty of rocks on the starboard side. And if you just check the chart out, we're going along this lead in line and using it as a lead out line to head out and intercept our track up to Roscoff. And through here, you can imagine it's a 7, 8, 9 metre tide at times, so you'd be right down amongst the rocks if it was a low tide. So it's great just feeling comfortable going out here at high tide, because right now those rocks look very close. Here they are there, they are close. But we know we're safe because we're basically heading out on a published track over rocky ground, not sandy ground. There's the sonar down there. Alright, on our way. Just coming into Roscoff Harbour. Looks promising. A little click on the radio. Roscoff Marina, Roscoff Marina. This is Motor Yacht Awanui NZ, channel 09, bonjour. So we tried to make a booking on Navily, got no reply. Bonjour monsieur, Motor Yacht Awanui is 1 mile out, and we sent a booking request, 15 metres. Do you have a visitor pier?
Yes, no problem, I have the place for you. You go Puntun Alpha Northside, and I have a 1 dinghy coding there. I got
Awanui NZ, apologies, unreadable. Say again slowly.
Yes, I have the place for you. Puntun Alpha, Northside.
Z, copy that, pontoon Alpha on the north side. We'll see you soon.
Very perfect.
Okay, Gazza, we are pontoon Alpha on the north side. So we're going to be around here and into the left. See how high it is, eh? It's amazing. I'll come around here, bud, and then I'll come and give you a hand. Alright, gone back to forward idle. Man, we've been battling a head current all afternoon. We were 1300 RPM and only doing about 5 and a bit knots, so a little bit hard work today, but it's alright. Oh, and shout out to Garmin, because since we have cleaned up the contacts and sprayed them with the electrical contact stuff, we have not had an issue with the radio, and I'm getting used to using it, so I take it all back now. The Cortex looks like it's an okay radio. Just wish they'd got back to me sooner. Anyway, yeah, look in there. You can see how severe the tides are here. Oh my goodness. Alright, we'll just come to a bit of a halt there. We'll take the stabilisers off and I'll just give Gary a hand.
Awanui, Roscoff, Marina. Mark,
Awanui, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so like my colleague, going to be on pontoon Alpha, the first pontoon as soon as you come in. I'm going to be in the dinghy. I will help you get in. The thing is, if you go in forward, it's port side 2. If you go in backwards, starboard side 2, obviously.
Okay, and we'll be going in backwards then, starboard side 2, and we're just getting our lines ready now. We'll be about 3 or 4 minutes. Alright, so he's ready for us. So we appear A, north side, and stern 2. So we're backing in. Alright, stabilisers are off, bow thrusters are on. In we go. Guy spoke excellent English in the dinghy.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, very, almost English. You know what I mean? It almost sounded English.
Oh, that's a pleasure.
Right, so in we go. Man, they are high walls, aren't they?
Aren't they? You can see the tidal mark though.
Yeah. It's a good call being on the Marina tonight, Gaz.
I beg your pardon?
I think it's a good call being on the Marina tonight. It's very shallow and that out there. We'd have found somewhere though. We're looking for power. Yep, there, Pier A on the north side, okay.
He's on your port side, just coming down.
Oh, yep, got him.
Oh yeah, there he is.
See where he's got for us, eh? What a shame it's not just on the end here.
Yeah, it is. He's tucking you in beside the
No,
yacht.
on the shame it's not on the end here.
Good meter on my side.
Oh, there's a meter.
Yeah, good meter.
How's that?
Yeah, finish off there, Skip. We're in neutral, we're good.
Alright, so here we are. Sorry we couldn't get you coming in front ways, folks, but we're going in backwards, and the boat sits out well from the end of the pier, but we're in. Wasn't a ton of room, but there is sufficient anyway. So here we are in Roscoff, and look at the size of those walls to protect the harbour. Amazing. Right, so off we go. Next morning, 20th of March, we're going to go and see the customs. We had the Douane visit us again this morning, eh Gary?
Yep, nice people.
And what are you going to tell people, Gary?
What, the Douane love us?
No.
What are we on about
What
now?
do people not know that you haven't told me either?
What do people not know that you haven't told me?
It's your birthday the day after tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, it snuck up, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that is so true.
80 years old.
Whoop, whoop, steady there.
Jeepers. How old are you, Gaz? How old are you?
I'll be entitled to the pension.
I suspect you've been entitled to the pension for at least a year. How old are you? Oh, I have your birth date. That's right, I can have a look at that. I can work it out. Anyway, people, he's in his 60s. It's his birthday in 2 days' time. So I am going to cook him the classic French veal dish that is rich and creamy, and we might buy you a €3. We might buy you a €3 bottle of wine.
Oh, we're going to really flash out.
Yeah, I think a €3 bottle of wine, Gaz.
Well, what a big change that'll be for me.
Hey?
Hey?
So you're going to have your first birthday ever in England?
I
in
suppose
Blighty?
that comes off my card.
Yeah, oh yeah, shit yeah. Oh shit yeah. 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 First bonjour. First birthday in Blighty, is it?
My first birthday ever in Blighty.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this morning we did all our ETA requirements for England, so then the Poms are bloody pilfering $20 or €10, €12 out of every person that enters into England, even though we're in the Commonwealth. Felt a bit ripped off about that, didn't we, Gaz?
Yeah, it's pretty shrewd, only for a couple of days for me.
I know. Anyway, we're off. We got all the rubbish out of the compactor, and Gary's carrying about a dozen red wine bottles in his bag.
Which happen to be all yours.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, great Marina. Gorgeous day in Roscoff. And away we go. Into town for coffee, shopping, and customs. Check these massive ramps out. So we're almost at full tide. And then this is actually a really steep ramp when it's low tide. It's very well done. Well, here we are. Here we are in the Brittany Ferries terminal. Now we just have to find customs. Yeah, and because there's no ferry at the moment, that may be harder than we realise. Anyway, we'll see. Here's Roscoff Harbour and Old City. We've been to the customs douane. He said basically we have to leave 2 hours after we check out, so he suggested that we go into town, because that's what we wanted to do, and he'll have his lunch and be back at 2 o'clock, and then we come back after lunch. So we're popping down here now. We'll go and get a nice coffee. But gorgeous little harbour. One would have to think that you could either anchor in there or tie up to a ball, but there was nothing on Navily about it. I might just try and find out from the harbour master, because that would be something useful for people to know. Same old story though, you're kind of stuck. Easy in the winter. These things are so easy in the winter because the demand's not there. But if they say, yeah, hey, that's fine, and then you get to summer and there's just boats everywhere, then it just becomes unmanageable. So be interesting to see. I'll do a little bit of a research into it, because you'd like to think that that area in there was quite accessible for leisure boats. In the end though, each one of those mooring balls could be owned by someone, and so they're not really there for you just to go and hook onto. Beautiful day and a beautiful harbour. Look at that. take you over there. I'm going to miss France, but next adventure I missed Spain as well, so that's life. C'est la vie. So I've learnt a little bit about the history of this port. It's very simple. It's always been a huge amount of trade, but then the local ship people, because of the dangers of the sea out there, it's notorious, and the risks they were taking, wanted a higher return. So they got involved in privateering, buccaneering, smuggling spirits and wine into England. And it all ground to a halt because obviously England and France knew this was a problem, so they signed a treaty that lowered all the tariffs on alcohol and product coming from Europe into England. And basically in the mid-1760s, voila! There was no point in privateering, no point in buccaneering, so everybody just went back to normal trade. Fascinating. All happened here. Now we are going to go and have a coffee. Really nice Brittany architecture. Now we've worked out the problem out there. There is no way, because we're at high tide almost, that you could lose 7 or 8 metres there and still have water. So it's for the local boats, because the local boats are designed to go on the dry at low tide. It's always an answer, always an answer. Let's go coffee, Gary. What year? 1960?
Yes.
Really? 1960, huh? Wow. And 500cc? Oh, beautiful bike,
English.
Huh? Yeah.
Inde. Fabriqué en Inde. Fabriqué en Inde. Inde. Hindou.
Ah.
La fabrication.
Yeah. Ah, beautiful bike. Yeah, I love it, mate. Well done. Merci. What an amazing shot. Look at these. And the wonderful thing about chocolate is it lasts. Amazing. So this house over here, very historic in Roscoff. Mary Stuart, Queen of Scotland, came here in 1548, and that was effectively where she lived. The house was built for her. That was when England effectively conquered France, and that wall there with all the growth on it is what's left of that building that was, or her home, that was built in 1548. So the way they word it's really interesting, because it says the house behind it is much more modern. That was built in the 1600s. So their idea of modern is 1650. But there is Mary Stuart, Queen of Scotland's residence in 1548. Okay, a little bit more research. The wall was actually to a chapel that was here when she landed in 1548. Queen of Scotland and to be the Queen of France. But the amazing thing to me is, look at that roof up there. It's a slate roof, and the valley that the roof goes into when it goes round a corner is also slate. I mean, that's amazing. All the flashings down the side of the little dormitories that come off and around the chimney are also slate, tucked up underneath the slate on the walls. Pretty amazing. I mean, this is ridiculous. I think Gary, I came around the corner and I thought Gary was proposing to a red bottle of wine. What are you doing, Doc?
I'm reading all the labels
Oh,
because
you're
I'm
studying.
getting sophisticated.
Okay, all right, okay, we'll leave it at that. So we have our beef bourguignon that we can make again. I mean, these are amazing. You just got to look at these. So here is the hinges for the shutters, but then the latch that holds the shutter open is a bust. So look at the little detail in that. So that's it closed, you know, when the shutter's closed, but when you open the shutter, you move the head, the bust up. And I reckon, Gaz, these would have been status symbols back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you had an ornate one of those, it said probably that you were someone of significance.
Yep.
Because obviously it would take more work to create, wouldn't it? Well, arriving back at Awanui NZ, home sweet home. Really does feel like my home now. This is where I live. Whoa, around the pylon. Bit of a current flowing through. Look at that. Quite large growth of seaweed. And the water's very clear here, so seems very clean. Seems very clean. Okie dokie, so back to customs. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he's back from his lunch. And we've had a look at the charts and that we do not have time to go where we wanted to tonight. So we're probably going to stay here the night and then leave in the morning at about 6. Now they say you have to leave 2 hours after checking out, so we're going to check with them and see what the story is, but hopefully if we just give them our word we'll stay on the Marina, they'll be okay with it. Otherwise I don't see them being up at 4, and we don't want to leave too much later, otherwise we're arriving into Guernsey in the evening, and anchorages in Guernsey are a little bit difficult to find. So, and the bloody marinas over there are exorbitant, 60 odd pounds a night. So that's $1,000 NZ a week. I mean, sorry, just not paying that. So it might be on to Plymouth yet after Guernsey and a refuel. But anyway, yeah, we'll go in here. Now obviously the only potential ever so slight problem could be if this guy doesn't agree with the bilateral and gets a bit antsy about the time I've spent in Europe, but I'm feeling pretty confident about it. Let's see what happens checking out of France, eh? Okie dokie. Well, that was fascinating. So, cut a long story short, in the end, Gary and I both got our passports stamped as leaving France. We're now back in France because we walked out the door back onto French soil, and we've been told we can go back to the boat and leave in the morning, but we must not leave the boat. So, okay, so that's the simple part. The complicated part is Gary's got a brand new passport, and when he got to Madrid, his passport did not get stamped. So the guy's looking at Gary's passport trying to stamp him out of France, and he said, well, you never came into the EU. And as non-EU people, we normally always get a stamp. So anyway, he said that's not his problem. his problem is to stamp you out. So here's the stamp, and you can see what happens after that when we get somewhere else. Now we get to me. Me is not so simple as you would expect. So we've finally got to the bottom of how this whole bilateral and Schengen thing works. The bilateral is only between the countries that approve it. So it is France and New Zealand. Now that I'm leaving, when I want to come back to Europe, the time I had in France under the bilateral is considered Schengen. All the country that you go into is interested in is when were you last in Europe. They're not interested in any agreement between New Zealand and that country. So to explain it, I'm going to England and then we're going to Antwerp in Belgium. When I go back into the EU and Belgium, they will look at it. I was stamped out of France. The time that I spent in France under the bilateral agreement, they will consider as Europe, EU. So the dates are based on that. So I must now spend at least 3 months outside of the EU because I've left France. Now, complicate things further, what he said was the rule, and I've never come across this, is that the only way that bilateral works is if before the 90 days of Schengen limit is used, I am in France. And he said basically he can't check that because when we cross the border between Spain and Portugal and France, or Portugal and Spain and then Spain and France, you don't get stamped. So in order to invoke the bilateral, effectively we must leave France within 6 months of arriving in Europe, because that way they can say you had your 3 month Schengen and you can have 3 months in France. So you must be out by the 6 months. You cannot get a bilateral from Spain or a bilateral from Portugal, which I did, and then a bilateral from France. So in other words, 9 months plus the 3 month Schengen would be 12. You cannot stay in Europe for 12 months. So it sounds like the cumulative time, which is where the EU is going electronically, the cumulative time in Europe can never exceed 6 months. You must check out by then. Anyway, he finally came back and he said, look, the easiest way is for 90 euros, you go into any consulate of France and you apply for a 1-year visa and you'd probably get it. He said it's not difficult to get. They're happy to give people a 1-year visa. Now what that means is you can spend a year in France, but while you've got that time in France, you can then, outside of that, because with a visa you get a visa stamp in your passport, so that doesn't get counted in Schengen time, you can then go and spend 90 days in other European countries. So his advice was, if you want to spend a lot of time, you go and get a 1-year visa for France, Belgium and Holland, and that takes everything away and you can overwinter up in Holland as long as you like, because by then you'll be ready to leave Europe again. So I've actually got my head around it. Yeah, so we're back to the boat. I will go back and pay the bill for the Marina and then get back on the boat. I hope that's all understood by everybody. Tried to make it as simple as possible. Good morning, everybody. It's 20 past 6 or 6:15 in the morning on Friday the 21st of March. Big day today. So today we leave Europe and we go to the UK, Guernsey Islands. So feels like a big milestone to me. So here we are, look. There's the route. We'll just zoom out a bit. Here we are down in Roscoff on the western coastline of France, and pretty much straight line through to Guernsey. Here we go. Let's get that focus up. Here we go. Yeah, Guernsey. So off to Blighty, and it is 72 miles. The weather for today, here we are on predict wind. I've got Friday at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning. So here we are, France, around the western coast, I guess you could say, but probably on the western side of France. And here's Guernsey, and here we'll just zoom in a little bit and we'll touch a spot in the middle. So 17 knots there at the moment. Halfway across, we just move the timeline up to, say, 1 o'clock. It does get up to 21 knots. So a bit of wind, so less than ideal, but it's a quartering wind. And then if we go into wave, get rid of that, zoom back in, is pretty darn good. We go back to Friday, 7 o'clock this morning, 0.9 of a metre coming out of France, up to about 1.1, 1.2, and the wave period fairly short. So that does mean it could be a little bit choppy. It's about 4.5 seconds. So it will be a little bit smack, smack, smack. And with that wind, but at least the wind's coming this direction here, not head on. So could have been a little bit better, I guess. Anyway, off we go. So yeah, we're going to get underway pretty quickly. Yesterday, late in the day, suddenly thought, my mistake, learning again, crap, what do we have to do to go into England? So I went online and yeah, there's a process. So ideally 24 hours beforehand, you fill out a form, get all the information into them, and they come back and let you know it's okay. So we got that off. They accepted it, but we haven't heard anything. But look, we're going to be okay, I think, because the paperwork's in. It'll be almost 24 hours when we get there. But also, we need a quarantine flag. Now, I haven't been thinking about that around Europe. Going from country to country in Europe, you don't need it. We haven't got a yellow quarantine flag, and by law, we must put it up. Now, it doesn't have to be big, so this is what we've got. Yellow dishcloth. So we're going to turn that today into a flag, and that will go up and replace the French flag. We'll have an old yellow dishcloth that we now use for checking the oil on the dipstick. Got to think of these things, so I have to remember that when we're going the other way in about 4 months' time, back to Europe. But yeah, anyway, big day. I've checked right along the route, happy with that. I've checked the currents. There is a current right out in the middle here that swaps around from one direction to the other. But it's, look, there's just not much we can do about that. In the end, it's going to be what it's going to be. And out of here in Roscoff, if I go to information, it's got here at the destination. Let's touch there. Close that down, go information again, tides. Roscoff, here we go. So we are on an incoming tide at the moment from 4.5 up to 7.3. So we'll head out. There's no problem with depth anywhere on the track we're going. Let's get going. Okay, so here we are going out of port at Roscoff. Okay, so here we are coming onto the route. I've checked the route all the way through, so I've got it in follow route. There it is over there. It's just coming around now onto that's the track we took coming in.
Yep, found those in between those two lights and
on our way. There is the island of Guernsey. Just zoom in there for you. That's what the sea's been like all the way across, so a bit sloppy. There is Blighty. Goodbye France, back there somewhere. Alright, so here we go. Going to go and put the quarantine flag up. The quarantine flag being a dirty dishcloth. Because we haven't got anything else that's yellow, and the English over here are absolutely adamant inside the 12-mile zone and we're just coming up to it, we must fly the quarantine flag. So I put one up a while ago and that's gone. So now we are doing a modification. We're going to put the zip ties through 2 holes that go right round the pole and then one off to each of the rings on the flag. So up I go, and this is our last attempt because after this we have no more dishcloths. So as it turned out, the bottom half was still attached. I couldn't see that from down below. Sorry, it's a bit rocky out here. But the top half has separated. So I'll still take this one off and replace it with our modified version, and then we'll get it up there. Right people, there we go. That has got to be the sexiest quarantine flag that UK Customs Service will have ever seen. So we're going to put it upstairs. Bit precarious going up here, got to keep a hand on the rail the whole way. Got my life jacket on, got my VHF radio, Gary's listening out. Up on the deck here, very windy. There she blows. That is a quarantine flag if I ever saw one. Okie dokie, so that was Guernsey VTS. They control the traffic going into Port St. Peter, and there is the Commodore ferry out there. They're going in first. There's a traffic light system into Guernsey. Pretty obvious. Red means don't go, green means you can. 3 greens is go ahead, 2 greens is traffic going both ways, and the white in the middle means you can go, but only with our instructions. So we've spoken to them. The Marina is apparently waiting for us. I think we're going to stay on the Marina, aren't we, Gary?
It's looking that way with this weather.
It's downtown, and the weather's not particularly nice. So we'll go onto the visitor berth, clear customs. Hopefully our quarantine flag is still on board the boat. If not, well, we've got camera footage to show we put it up, so we can have that fight. Yeah, there we are going in towards Port St. Peter. Pretty strong currents around here, and 2.7 miles to run. We should be there in about 30 minutes. Okie dokie, so coming into Guernsey Port, we talked to Guernsey VTS, and we've got the green lights ahead of us, and he cleared us to change over to the Marina frequency. This is channel 80. Jazz is out there putting out the fenders, getting the lines ready, might be the last time. So decided we're going to stay at this marina in here because they offer 4 nights for the price of 3, and we haven't used marinas an awful lot, so we reckon it's fair that we treat ourselves at the end of the trip. Victoria Marina, Awanui NZ, Awanui NZ, channel 80, good afternoon. What a beautiful port, eh? So starboard marker there, guy coming out in a tender. I suspect he is coming out, I guess, he is coming out to guide us in. Follow me, he'll be saying, follow me. But look, the English over here, fantastic, just like it. Flying into Heathrow was the same. They were just magic. Calm, clear. There we go, it's coming out. coming around to take us in. Haha.
He's asking if you want to fuel up.
I was going to do it just before I leave.
Sorry?
I was going to do it just before I leave.
We'll fuel just before we leave.
Right, okay. What's your draft?
Draft is 1.6.
Six.
1.6.
Okay. And when are you leaving?
3 days.
4 nights.
Follow you. Follow him.
Right, wanted to know how long we're staying, did we want fuel now, and then told us to follow him. Follow him we shall. Four knots, he obviously doesn't understand that. Anyway. Let me know when you're ready, Gaz. Potential hazard ahead, that's a bit of an understatement. So you can see all the really high walls around here. We're almost at low tide now. And just ahead to the starboard there, you can see the red light for entry into the marina. It's not the one we're going to. We're going to one on the port, but you can see the concrete bar that's there. So basically you can't go in there until you've got the sufficient tide in to get you over that concrete bar. Right.
Fender's out, ropes are ready.
Okay, buddy, we might as well just do the centre, I reckon.
Do the sender?
Yeah, he wants this on here by the look of it.
Starboard bound.
Coming in hot.
You right? Well, that came in forward far too fast. For some reason I misjudged that a bit. It was a bit busy around me, I think.
Hold there, skip, I'll do stern line.
Okay, buddy. Anyway, we could pick it up. We're able to stop in time. Alright, so we're looking at doing a heat exchanger core check, which under the John Deere maintenance manual is required to be done after 12 months or 500 hours. So we've hit the 500 hours and coming up to 12 months. Now to take the core out, it goes all the way along through here. So we have to take the end off here because the core has got a O-ring around either end. So we've got to be able to get access to both. Now the only way to do that is to take this whole electrical unit off here, to take the oil lines off the oil filter and all this electrical stuff here, the crankcase vent filter, or to take the entire turbocharger off at the end there. And the thing that I can't get, that I'll be absolutely fascinated with people's views on, is that's every 500 hours. And if you're using a Nordhavn like you plan to use it, that's twice a year. You could do, we've done nearly 1,000 hours. So I'd just be really interested to know from anybody on the Nog as to how they have tackled this. To me, it seems like all this electrical gear should be mounted up here. And these hoses and everything just go up there. So you've actually got access to take the core out. And that still doesn't get you past the turbocharger issue. And I just don't believe, that there'd be an expectation to completely remove a turbocharger unit twice a year. Or once a year, for that matter. And that's just dealing with the starboard engine. The port engine is way over the other side there. Anyway, interested in your thoughts. All right, we're going to get just a couple of repair jobs done before Gary goes home tomorrow. One is on the tender. For some reason, both of the navigation lights have gone, but they went separately. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's electrical connections. But anyway, the North Star people sent me 2 completely new lights. And then, very exciting, the Vespa radio that goes in here. Remember, those of you that saw the old episodes, that unit there failed because basically when it was at the Marina ex the factory, every night they took it out, put it back, took it out, put it back, took it out, put it back. And in the end, snapped the tiny wee brass plugs that are in there. So I got in touch with Vespa, which is a product of Garmin. You'll all know that because I'm not very impressed with them, but now I like them. And what they did was they sent me, instead of that replacement unit, they sent me a whole new radio. Check that out. Whole new radio instead of that bit of wire. Anyway, first thing we've got to do is get access in behind here. So we have to take the Garmin screen out, and that enables us to get into the back, and it should be a relatively easy process. Watch this space. Right, well there's our access point. Fairly tight working space. And we've got a few clear connectors in there too, which is interesting. But anyway, Garmin screen comes out pretty easily, just 6 screws. It pops out and gives us access into the back of this unit, and that's where we're looking at there. Alright, so we've stripped this off the wire that was coming through the panel here, 12 volt, and we've connected the new one through. So we're now going to screw the plate back on, and Gary has stripped the connection from the 12 volt coming in from the battery bus and the 12 volt coming off the cord that we got from Garmin Cortex. And then we're going to use, someone will have something to say about this, won't they, Gary? But we are going to use these male-female connectors here to join the two together. So that's what we've got, so that's what we're going to use. And then very shortly we should be able to plug it in and see if it works. In the meantime, that gorgeous boat down there, I'll just zoom in on it for you, has come in from Jersey. Motorboat, had a pretty rough ride over, they said, and we're going to catch up with them later. Here. Okay, so there it is all connected up, and here is the old Cortex radio, new one over there, and we are going to connect this into here, slide that around, it locks it, and then as far as I'm concerned it'll never come out again. And then those tiny wee pins in there should survive, and then we'll try turning it on. There you go, Gaz. Okay, the moment of truth, everybody. So here we are, we have power to the radio, we know that, we've got a red light there.
You have?
Yeah. Don't sound so what you sounded surprised. You said you have?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll do this, the Garmin dance. 1, 2, 3. There's Vespa coming up, look. Very hard to see in this light. Come on baby, you can do it without locking up so that I have to do the hard shutdown. Come on Vespa. Come on Vespa Cortex, be my favourite. Oh ho ho, look. There's Garmin coming up, look, look. I love Vespa radios. Folks, I think Garmin Vespa Cortex radios are the best things since sliced bread. I'm sold on them now. There we go, channel 80. We're going to go back to channel 16. Gaz, it works. Alright, so we're going to shut down. And that is now permanently connected. It will not come off. Job done.
Can we get a happy smile?
A happy smile because I now have the Garmin radio up here for the summer. Didn't matter in the winter, but in the summer you want to be up here. Although I use the portable $150 radio up here and it worked perfectly well. So you know, you need all this fancy stuff. It's nice, isn't it? But sometimes simple's good. Don't you think, Gaz?
I do think.
What's happening today, Gary?
It might be the famous dish today.
Beef bourguignon.
Followed.
And it's been cooking for what, 12 hours probably?
12 hours, alright.
Very low.
Simmering.
Yep, and it's our goodbye dinner, isn't it?
With a superb little red.
Yep, and we'll see the end of season 4 of 24. Right, there we go.
You may rise.
Put that there. Put that back in there. So now we've got neither navigation light working. We've got power to it. You reckon they just pulled out?
We'll cut those and see what's going on, eh?
I'll go and get a side snips.
Yep.
Okay. Alright, put the battery power on. And we'll go and see when I turn this on if it works. The port light. Yeah.
I think you got both.
Excellent. Another wee job done. Okay, so the next job we want to do is just unsnip all these because we want to tidy up the wiring so that it doesn't flap around as much. It was done a bit quick back in Montenegro, so we'll do that and reclip it so that all the cables run up and down there and don't flap up and down on here. Should be a nice easy job. Where you going, Gary?
Yes, I'm away unfortunately.
Mind you, you picked the right weather to leave, look. Pretty crappy out there, isn't it?
Crappy day.
Yep, off to the airport. Well, that's hilarious. I had my camera in this hand. I had this in that hand. And what did I do? I came up to this bin and I threw the camera in the bin. And the bin's locked. But we prevailed. That's clever, eh, Gaz? What am I going to do without you, mate?
That would be my last laugh of the trip, I would say.
What am I going to do without you? Bloody hell.
Oh, no, you're not doing that to me now, are you?
Not doing what? Here's another airport having maintenance work done on it. How could they possibly keep the airfares and charges so high if it wasn't for the continual work, eh? Any airport you go to around the world always seems to have major works underway. Well, funny feeling. as always, saying goodbye to people. You just go through that slightly on your own, bit of a lonely feel, but yep, I'll get back into it on the bus, quick ride back into town, and then I'm off to the Marina shop that's closing down, get some parts they've got on special. Might as well get some of those, a little bit of shopping, and then back to Awanui NZ. It's a bit cool today, so, and a little bit of a sore throat, so I'll stay indoors. Anyway, upwards and onwards, and in Guernsey or the Channel Islands for the next 10 days or so.